Hey guys, it's Matt. The theme or topic of this video is eventually going to be, is there ever a point, or do you believe there's a point where the notnilC could possibly push the population too far? Where they actually, for once, would push back to some degree. And the reason I wanted to talk about this is just this morning I was watching the Echo Chamberlain video, he's typically a movie reviewer, but he was talking about how people in the UK are being arrested because of certain tweets, comments, emails, whatever it may be, where you're even in a joking fashion potentially suggesting some sort of violins against certain groups, like the riders of the Trans-Siberian Railroad. And could obviously it's a joke, but the police will show up at the door. He said many people are arrested, but very few are convicted, but it's an intimidation tactic. This is what I wanted to talk about until I was let's just say, distracted with going over to check on Duluth and Dubuque. And you want some, dearly beloved, we are gathered here today to get through this thing called life. And thank you, CNN and BBC Headlines, for helping us with a few laughs. It said in big bold, other than all the James T. Kirk stuff, James T. Kirk, Spock, James T. Kirk, Royals welcome Trump. He is Trump, and they showed him in a carriage, an old, like the opening scenes of the movie Marie Antoinette with Kirsten Dunst, which I really like. The Sofia Coppola, if you're watching this, and I'm sure you are, please reach out to me. The way she used music throughout the movie Marie Antoinette, it's not for everybody. It's odd, but it's really well done, if you ask me. Sorry. So Trump's in a royal carriage. And they had somebody, here's the funny part. Somebody had beamed a picture of Trump with Epstein, Steiner, beamed them the picture of them together on the side of Windsor Castle. Like the way, people, they don't put the lights up anymore like Christmas Vacation. Clark, and let me plug it. Nothing happens. They spent hundreds of hours on the lights. No, you don't. You just put the damn light show up, and it just makes your house. You could just, all you do is plug it in. You don't have to spend the time anymore. You don't spend the time anymore. You just plug it in. Well, that sort of projection thing, like the Christmas, it was Trump and Steiner together on the side of Windsor Castle. Yeah, that's not notnilC planned. Anybody can just waltz in with a big projector and get close to. You and I could do it. Waltz into Windsor Castle or on the outside. What are you two doing here? Nothing. We're just tourists. We're just normal African students. And are you racist or something? I want to just get a little close to. What's that thing you're under your raincoat? Nothing. I'm pregnant. Men can't do this now. Haven't you read the news? No, unless you want to be arrested, sir, or lose your job, step aside. I'm going to get close to Windsor. And then just anybody could set up a big projector that shows Trump with Steiner. Oh boy. Guys, this is going to be a little bit all over the place. I apologize, bathroom boys. You got a stack of stuff to do in the bathroom. Let me just try to stick to the point of why I wanted to make this video initially. Watching Echo Chamberlain, he's usually a movie reviewer. He's one of the few that I still watch. I don't watch Critical Drinker and Nerdrotic, all this horse shit. It's the same old complaint about Star Wars, They never come around that obviously all of this is being made bad on purpose. It's 100% at this point. That doesn't mean those making it, like cretin creatures like Leslie Headland, know that they're supposed to make it bad. The notnilC just puts complete delinquents and losers and retreads into positions of power that can't possibly succeed and can't help themselves in terms of pushing their own agenda, like cretin, low-life Schmeagle creatures like Leslie Headland. So they're not in on it. They are being used by notnilC, but they're not aware of it. Anyway, so I draw Critical Drinker. I don't watch any of this bullshit anymore, but I like Echo Chamberlain's very highbrow, very intelligent highbrow humor, or British humor that's not for everybody. And he was talking about how people are being arrested in the UK because of tweets and posts, and just one little innuendo about somebody put something in a tweet about it has to do with I on this platform have to be very roundabout in the way I talk about it regarding those that ride the Trans-Siberian Railroad. And this person tweeted Matt, the bot knows exactly what it does know, but somehow it allows it. Whatever, I don't know. Or somebody high up, like Michael suggested before he passed and left us. Michael suggested that, Matt, your channel still exists because somebody up high up in notnilC, one, finds you entertaining and also is interested in the way you perceive the world, or you wouldn't exist. Michael was probably right about that. Anyway, the tweet was the riders of the Trans-Siberian Railroad, whatever. If you're not sure, he said in the tweet, pause, punch him in the balls. I guess that it wasn't worth the wait. I'm sorry, but that's what the person. It was a famous. The guy is he a cartoonist? I don't know who this. It's a famous person that was arrested, and that's a big story. He was arrested in the airport, and it almost seems like a notnilC setup to me, with me knowing nothing about it, because they do have. They immediately went public with the recording of him being arrested. You hear him saying, "I'm being arrested," and I know the recording is necessary per UK law or whatever, but it's a little too perfect. I mean, the notnilC doesn't do this stuff quietly. They want the masses in a roundabout way to know that if they post the wrong thing, they'll be arrested. And you do that in the most, from the notnilC's perspective, efficient manner if you arrest high-profile people, whether they're in on it or they're just being used. And it just seemed a little too perfect. But either way, and I thought, let me just, I guess, I'm sorry being all over the place. I thought in the old century, the notnilC didn't have the digital twin modeling, and they didn't have the AI simulations, and where they could predict what you're going to do before you do it. Or part of part two, the work is whenever possible try to break those scripts. So we're not so predictable, but it was more conservative in the last century because it didn't have the AI and the digital twin modeling, and it was in terms of what it tried to get away with, it was more conservative. And to me, I believe the metaphysics of the old millennium was actually different. The reality itself was different in some ways versus what this reality is. We could talk about all the possibilities sometime. Did they actually move reality off to the side when they submitted the 7-Eleven job application for convenience store employment? It's possible. It is possible. That's how you could potentially explain things like stalled century, and these losers get into certain positions and they never go away, like Larry Kudlow, things like that. But they're in this century or millennium, per the perfect digital twin modeling and AI simulations, I think they the additional. I'm sorry, you people yelling at me, crying out in the night. I can hear you rising up out of your bathtub, throwing rubber duckies. See, Matt, the people today, it's not just the metaphysics of the reality. The like you say, the ship of fools, the mind control, the frequency, the download everyone's on is at a completely different level. If it even existed in 1960 or 1970, it existed to some degree. Right, the people are so mind controlled, and I'm so long-winded, I'm sorry. It is possible that you couldn't even push the population today over the edge or too far, where they'll start acting out the end of V for vendetta and order up the Guy Fawkes masks and actually push back. That we've talked about, going out and rallying against it with signs, and that's exactly what it wants, and that's exactly what it wants out of the people in terms of its energy harvesting and its loosh and the reaction that it actually tries to create in a lot of people. But is there ever a point where it could make a mistake or push too far, and where the reaction from the people is not what they expected? And I'm not sure that's possible today. Because of the digital twin and the AI modeling. In terms of, if anybody doesn't know what I'm talking about, at the micro level all the way up to the macro, it's running simulations and modeling. And it actually has you in its simulation with every piece of information it's ever been able to collect up on you. Originally putting in every information it has on it is your straw man. It is the digital straw man, the name or the first name in all caps, the last name, in all caps, everything it is ever collected up on you. But then adding to that is every single comment you've ever made under a video, every single tweet, every single email. Who knows how many vocal samples, phone conversations, anything, everything. It's anything it can get on you. If you look the wrong way at a traffic camera in New York City, and it'll digital model your facial imprint. It's put in everything. And it ultimately is it. I'm sorry to get ahead of myself. Some will say it might be there now in terms of what I'm about to say. Will it be able to predict how you will react to a certain news headline or whatever may happen in the world? Is it able to predict how you will react before, and perfectly predict before you actually react? And everybody here listening to me is saying, of course. So in the old days, or in the last century, who knows what tools it had available to it, besides its old ancient spells and its knuckle bones, to predict what populations would do or how populations would react. I think it had to be more conservative in what it tried to get away with. And that's kind of, I'm sorry, in a roundabout way or long-winded fashion, that's what I'm trying to say here, where it knows exactly what, on the macro level, what populations will do today. Because it just has to plug the scenario into its continuously running digital twin simulation. I don't know exactly what they have, if they've completely modeled Colossus, the Forbin project, or that movie's hard. They say it's very hard to find. It's completely predictive as to the scary places the AI could go. When I heard 8 or 9 months ago that it was very hard to find copies, I was able to find from a seller a DVD. It was still like $24. But this is the movie, that Colossus, the Forbin project, the scary predictor of where AI could go. The thing just starts to take over everything, and it's basically, you can't watch it on demand anywhere. It's just they're trying to wipe it out, it seems like. Anyway, I've made a video on that movie. I've talked about it before. So who knows what they had available in the 70s and 60s and 70s. They had to, that's the reason, in my opinion, they had to move a bit more slowly, and they had to be more professional in their presentation. It had to be more believable, more legitimate, and that one could argue that the mind control and the download and the ship of fools and the frequencies, of course, wasn't the same over the population in general. Of course, it wasn't. What was it? Just 5% of what it is today? Was the mind control just 10% of what it is today? I'm sorry. Hold on. At least I'm aware of it this time. I know when I'm doing it. I won't do it too much. There was one video where I went back and played back. I was like touching I'm sorry. Where today, it's just and it's only going to get even more predictive from their digital twin perspective. They just plug in a scenario. What happens if any scenario? I'm sure that there's a dam that feeds a certain big city, and if it were to break, or the levees were to break, what would happen? And most importantly, it's a bad example, because that's not something that, like the current situations, creates a lot of emotional friction and energy harvesting. And it's not a great example, but the point is they could plug in anything, and they know, what did they call that in my old it was called statistics back in the day. And I'm sitting in the class in Penn State, and they call it quantitative business analysis, QBA. I'm like, what the fuck is this? Oh, after a few days, it's just like, that's just a statistics class. Why don't you just call it that? Why do you call it QBA? But the one thing I remember from that horse shit is you do a standard deviation of plus or minus 3%, whatever it may be, your predictive modeling, and how, what would be the standard deviation, if I'm even using that word correctly, on the chances it may be incorrect. And it's the Terminator. It'll never stop. It's modeling today for most political events. How will the hardcore Trump supporters, with those that have flags welded on the back of pickup trucks, how will they react to the James T. Kirk and Spock thing? And it knows within within 0.5%. We used to, standard deviation of mistake was 3 to 4% was okay. If you think your advertising campaign is going to do this and you're off by 3 or 4% from a statistics or QBA perspective, you're still good. You can keep your job. Where that's ridiculously ineffective today regarding its digital twin modeling. It's somebody's yelling at me, Matt. It's probably almost perfect in terms of predicting on a macro level what huge populations will do. It probably is almost perfect. The standard deviation, again, I won't use that word again, is probably 0.0001% or something as you get into bigger populations. On the individual level, Matt, when you're done this video and it knows your area just got a little sprinkle of rain, and will it know you'll want to go out and do a stove test and light people? You some kind of pyro? No, I'm not that. I like it's very therapeutic to stack these bricks, test to try to create a no smoke fire. Anyway, sorry, I do that stuff on another YouTube channel called at Stove Advice. But does it know what I'm going to do? That's what I'm saying. Does it know exactly what I'm going to do for the rest of the day after I'm post this video and go through the comments or what? I mean, who knows? In terms of it predicting the day-to-day doldrums of what I'm going to do in the backyard or what, I don't care. Well, Matt, isn't one of the goals to get away? Well, to move off its life script is a major goal of part 2 of the work. But if it can predict that I'm going to go, instead of raking leaves because it's wet, I'm going to do a stove test, I don't care if it has that, and it knows I'm going to stop right at 2 o'clock or what. I don't care. That's not the same as I've moved myself off its life script. I mean, in 1995 and 1996, when the insurance company transferred me from Wilmington, Delaware to Los Angeles, I was completely on its life script and life track. Oh, this could be it's a promotion in sales. I mean, realize when you come out as a marketing major from Penn State, from anywhere, you come out as a marketing major, you think all these things are available to you. I want to be in advertising. I want to do that shit. I want to do this shit. No, you're going to be a sales rep, you son of a bitch. You're going to sales reps, all that's available to me as a marketing major? What do you think that major was for? It's useless. Oh, shit, I thought I could be a marketer. What's that? I don't know. I wanted to go to New York City and be a marketer. I was on its life script, of course. Most of us were. In the interview, I said, I want to market. What's that? I don't know, but I want to do that. Give me the job. How much? I can start today. I got no girlfriend, no wife. You son of a beach. Then they threw me out. I was on its script. Oh, I got to be a sales rep. And then, okay, go. We're going to start this new territory in Los Angeles. You go out there and you go around to go down to Phoenix, Arizona, and you go 115 degrees. I burned it was actually 113 once when I was in Las Vegas. The highest in Phoenix, I believe, was 108 to 110. That's all. I burned my hand on a steering wheel once at a rent-a-car. I had no idea you're supposed to put everybody. I didn't put those things up, those reflector things. This is not a joke. It was baking in the sun on the side. It wasn't under a cover on the back side of whatever Courtyard by Marriott I was staying in. I threw my briefcase in. I touched the leather or whatever it was. I went, ah! The skin didn't peel off, but I had to drive for quite a while with a towel or a T-shirt, whatever I had available. People in Phoenix know exactly what I'm talking about. I had to drive with a towel because I had to get where I needed to go. I was never late to meetings. Anyway, I was on the life script, completely on. This is what I'm supposed to do. I came out of Penn State. I was a business major. I got to get some big corporate job. This is what my family has instilled in me as the definition of success. And I didn't realize as a marketing major, this was all that was available. So I had to do sales. And sales in most cases, very up and down. You can do very well in sales, and you have a few bad years. It's really, really difficult. It's very up and down. But go watch anybody thinking about getting into sales. You'll watch Glenn Ross. There's a lot of truth in that. I mean, it's not what I was in insurance to. I sold international insurance to large corporations. It wasn't as bad as Glenn Ross. But that's as hardcore as it gets. in terms of cutthroat individual sales and cold calling and woo. If you could stomach, that's as low as it gets. Glenn Ross is a good movie. But I was completely on the life script as to what its definition of success was. And if, I'm sorry for being so long-winded. I've completely moved off its script that it wanted me to be on, of course. Now I'm just considered to the notnilC, to people around me, family, friends, some loser. Where did Matt go wrong? He was so successful out in Los Angeles. Then they transferred him to San Francisco in 1999. And then he quit. He quit? He just got up and quit. What went wrong? Did he do some sort of an ayahuasca or an acid trip or something affected his brain? And then he got into this conspiracy stuff. And he seems normal when he comes to the family gatherings, but it's so sad. I'm sure they have these conversations. It's so sad what happened to Matt. Where did he go wrong? All they understand is the notnilC path of success. And per its digital twin modeling, it knew exactly. Then I broke its script. That's what we all should. And it doesn't always mean quit your job and move your family into a cardboard box. No, okay, provide for your family. Keep your hospital system job. I have no responsibilities other than Zara now. That's it. So and I didn't have a wife and kids when I quit. So, but I broke just for a few days before it reconfigured its digital twin about who is Matt McKinley. But I confused the crap out of it there's many ways to do that, but that is part two of the work. In the Chernobyl Illuminati Control Center, aluminum Ducati in 3 Mile Island went meep, meep. Matt McKinley, he's been on the life script. He thought studying hard and getting good grades was important, and it's important to get through with, if anybody younger is listening, get an A or two and B's. But the amount of effort I put in, thinking it was important to get straight A's and summa cum laude, I was a believer in all this, in this sort of trajectory horseshit. I thought that's what I was. My mother was valedictorian, so I had to get all good grades, and I felt pressure because she was so. It was ridiculous, but I give myself a break as a young person. How was I supposed to know? But then the alarms went off. He's quitting. He's moving back to Philadelphia with no job, and then I broke its script. And then, well, what am I supposed to do? I still stayed on and off in the insurance business. First job. I'll wrap this up. The first job, I was changed. Something changed in me, and I wasn't a truth researcher. When I moved back to Philadelphia in 2002, not at all. But the first job I got was a similar insurance job, selling a different international. It was air ambulance product. If you get injured in a car accident in Bangladesh, you need to be flown out, and those life flight are very expensive. I sold that to companies, and it was just I've talked to 1 minute, guys. At least there was a little bit of in the little segment of the insurance company I was with, starting in 1993, there was the corporate culture was normal to a degree because it was this little international segment. The people, but when I got into this other group, I had no idea that this thing called corporate culture was real. Everything was oil and water. There wasn't one person there I got along with. They fired me after 8 weeks. They fired me. There wasn't one thing I could do right. I had no idea what was going on at the time, but I know now it was 100% frequency, and I was so off the frequency of that place. You would think that the managers, when they interviewed me, would have sensed that and not hired me, but they were just going off the reputation I had from the other company, of which they knew each other, and there was referrals and things like that. But it was a disaster from day one. There was nothing about what they did that made sense to me. It was incompatible. I could go on for hours. Corporate culture is completely real. It's a frequency. If you and it can be just with a group of friends, or your neighbors get together and you feel obligated to play cards or something. If the feel is just wrong, get out. Immediately walk away. You will sense it. And on paper, I should like being in this situation. Forget on paper, run away as fast as possible. I had no idea this the culture of any group. It's an egregore in and of itself. This is very real. And I then found another. Well, anyway, I dabbled back and forth in the insurance industry for, oh boy, maybe 7 or 8 more years, or nine to 10 more years. You include my own little brokerage. And then that of course started to fail, and it just, you don't realize it. I'm sorry guys, but this is very important. You don't realize, you say, why is this failing? Do you think if I was able to speak to a corporate buyer, do you think I'd be able to make a pretty reasonable and intelligent presentation? Of course I could, and I know to tone that condescending tone down. I wasn't even like I am now. I noted. I mean, I didn't say you buy my product, you're a loser. I toned it down. When I want to put on a good face, I can. So, nothing was working. Nothing was selling. But they needed this product desperately. Of course, they all needed it. They have all these people overseas called expatriates. They didn't have this thing. I'm saying, you don't have it, and the cost was extremely low. And I know now why it didn't work. On paper, it was perfect. I should have cleaned up for 5 years. Had this product nobody else had. It's simply, it's not an excuse. It is resonance and frequency. And I just did not belong. Who I had become did not belong in that world. And whether the buyers sensed it or through the ether, who knows? But it was doomed to fail. Decisions on paper never do a decision. I think we should move here because let's do the pluses and the minuses. It's all feel. The pluses could be thousands and the minus could be 2. And if those 2 with the feel and the frequency, it bothers you, and it's all feel. For 2 to thousands plus, go with the minus. Your inner knowing will tell you everything you need to know. And just give the notnilC gives itself away. This reality gives itself away. How many classes in elementary school or junior high or high school or your parents' teachings as a kid, how many times maybe you had a grandparent that was knowledgeable and told you some of these things, of course, and you guys know what I'm saying. I'm saying when we're young, this is the most important part of education and training. One class that would say, this class is on the sixth sense that you have and you don't know you have. And when you get a bad feeling when you're around somebody that's not going to be right for you, to get in touch with that feeling, never in a classroom, never. Its reality gives itself away. The most important things are not taught. The useless mind control, automatonic horseshit is what's taught. Greg sent me something, a little animation or depiction of how the highway systems work. And how Matt, how many did you know this? I said no. I never realized. How many people know this? 5%, not even. Where if from the south, from Texas moving up, the 10 is at the bottom, then the 20, the 30, Highway 40, 50, 60, all the way up to 90. 90 might go to Seattle, or 80 might go into San Francisco, but 10, 20, 30, 4, okay. And then it works the other way. I-5 in I'm not sure if this is going to be backwards for you guys or this. I'm just the way I would look at a map from my perspective. I-5 connects San Diego to Los Angeles, and then 5, 15, 25, all the way to I-95. He said, Matt, did you realize this? No. I had no. I thought it was just at random. I didn't know they named it. There was some. Not that we would ever be so lost we could say, oh, that we found one that's the 20. That must be more north. I mean, is it really going to help somebody on the road? But it would be good to know. Greg said, "Do you ever get this in a classroom in elementary school or even driver's ed?" Nope. Anything useful. And this isn't the greatest example of anything. The inner knowing and tapping into our sixth sense, that's useful. But the point is, you get nothing useful in education. It's reality completely giving itself away. They don't even give you classes on scams or how to see through certain types of frauds. Do they today? I don't think so. Money management. Okay, it's incredible. So back to the main point. In 2025, is it possible for the notnilC to overstep or to not get something right in terms of how it will expect a population to behave. And most of us here would say it's not possible it could ever make a major mistake at this point in terms of getting a population to react, even with violins and violas in a way that it didn't expect would happen, or to say back to a government, we've had enough and this isn't, will not comply. It's most of you would say it's just not possible because one, it's modeling, especially its macro modeling and its digital twin simulations of how populations and Trump supporters will react to this or that, or how the hardcore liberals or how the LG community will react to this or that. It knows exactly what those populations will do. So it's perfectly predictive. But on the other side, whatever we don't really understand here, the frequency, the download, the ship of fools, the radio station, the spell, the grimoires, the technology that has everybody in a funk, that has everybody under some sort of Pied Piper spell. It's got both working for it at the same time. Matt, this is depressing. This is all. Worry about yourself. Okay, it doesn't matter where the population's being led. This is your journey, your spiritual battle, and at some point, I would like to see, we've talked many times about how certain types of pushbacks against notnilC I've said is pointless. Of course, I think many of you would agree. Going down with a sign outside the White House and trying to protest for this or that, it creates the energy it lives off of or feeds from, luge, etc. All that is pointless. And in many cases, we've talked about if it ever did get a violins and viola reaction, it would the people or the population that created that reaction you would almost say it would probably be baited into it or lured into it, and the violin's reaction would be exactly what it wants. Yeah, most likely. But I would like to see it at least once in my life. I know that we're on an individual journey here. Worry about yourself. I'm with you. But for once, I would like to see, of course, this is just natural for all of us to want this. I would like to see them overstep. It's probably not, as I said one last time, it's probably impossible. I would like to see them get it wrong and have the people finally push back. And in some sort of fantasy, I'd want to be right there with them, pushing back. Maybe just to get it out of our system. I'm never going to be sitting outside of a government building with a sign. I mean, I'm not going to that. No. But what will you participate in, Matt? I don't know. I'd have to see where they overstepped, but there's certain things. Maybe it's just an individual decision that becomes a collective decision, and you don't need somebody rallying the troops, or you know what I mean. Like there are back in the day we looked at the ridiculous mall events and school events and all the cake and a lake presentations that are still going on today. But our interpretation of what was going on was wrong 10 years ago or 12 years ago. We thought all of that was about taking the guns. No, I've talked about this. You started changing my tune on this even 7 or 8 years ago, guys. Well, that didn't come out right, or the video might not load, so let me correct revise what I was saying. What really got my attention was the day of the Robin Williams, Dustin Hoffman movie, Captain Hook, which was the videotape was available for release on Blockbuster in 2012. December, the VHS tape was made available. And that day, I told you, I didn't go to the Pennsylvania Oaks rifle and gun show because of that. I had planned on going anyway. But I knew At this point, again, I'm still probably right in the middle of truth research and all the talk. All these cake and a lake events are happening because eventually they're going to use it to take the guns. Oh, we heard what happened in Australia, and everybody was buying up all these bricks of ammunition and thousands of rounds, and ammunition was like, it was like that buffet put out in the party that Wyatt and Gary held in Weird Science when Lisa went to the door and said hi, hi, and they came in and just the buffet just went within a few camera shots, a few seconds, went to nothing. That's, you put the ammo out, just gone. We thought that they were going to take everything, so everybody stockpiled whatever they could, and I remember being in that mindset when I went to the Oaks rifle and gun show, but I knew that the event, which was happening on the news, it would be mobbed, a mob scene, and it was people. The Oaks Convention Center, I think it's 3 gigantic warehouses. I don't know, like a football field, or bigger, much bigger than a football field, each one. You could fly drones around. I mean, it's just huge, huge. Every single table was somebody selling handguns, and I mean, the line out the door, wrapping around the building. And very soon after that, I started to say a few things in videos. I haven't talked about this a lot, but so the notnilC, is it stupid? No, it's not stupid. It's evil genius, and in the extreme. So it knows that every time there's a questionable mall event or school event, that people just flock to buy more and more and more. But it doesn't want anybody to have those things. But it's not stupid, okay? It wanted people to buy up, collectively, to buy up tens of millions of more weapons and hundreds and hundreds of millions of more pieces of ammunition. It's not stupid. That's the way people reacted, and per its digital twin modeling, it knew exactly what people would do, and then it floats stories about how it created artificial ammunition shortages. Of course, completely, all notnilC. I remember there was a year period where 40 caliber, and that is not a popular caliber for a handgun. There's certain police forces that use it. 40 caliber. It's a big round. It's mostly shot by these hybrid plastic and metal guns. It's hard to shoot, but it wasn't available. You couldn't get it anywhere for a long time, maybe a few years, and then the rumors online that Department of Homeland Security had bought up millions and tens of millions of 40. Oh, and then is that guy Dabu7 still making videos about how they're going to put us in camps and shit? I mean, then that I was right there with them. I was like, okay, they're gonna move against people to take the guns. I was right there with them. This is 12 years ago, whatever, 14 years ago. I feel like I moved on. I don't know what he's doing, what those people are doing that filmed the trains, 200 cars, flatbeds, all with tanks. Oh, they're moving to all these tanks and equipment to the population centers. It was all a setup, guys. Of course it was. It was all a setup. If DHS was buying up millions of rounds of 40 because they're going to announce the end of the Bill of Rights, so it's already gone, but they have people believing it still exists, and they're going to use the Walmarts for the you-know-what camps and all the stuff that we researched back in the day, they would never announce it. It would be secretive. It would never make it into a website or a news headline. If it did, it would be taken down within 10 minutes. And because they were floating these rumors, that just made this community, the gun show community, buy up them even more. So anyway, you understand, I'm being long-winded, you understand what actually happened. We need to look at it seems like they're going to take the guns, but what's actually happening? Red State America is buying up hundreds of millions of more guns. Well, for what? That's what they wanted to happen. So we can speculate or in the future talk about, and I know some of you are saying, well, what regarding what just started to happen regarding the James T. Kirk thing, and somebody will start saying things about civil, what, and that's why there's so many guns in the country, and the fighting will at some point break. I mean, to me, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. I even forget. I forget what I was saying initially. You have to look at what actually is happening, not what the videos and websites are saying are happening. What's actually happening? They're not trying to take the guns. They want people to buy more guns. And I did remember for just a second what I was about to say. We got back to it was just 5 minutes ago. I said at some point, if there is a mass pushback on whatever, it would be pushing the individual too far, not like pushing a group that then has a leader and says we need to go out and do this. We need to rally the troops to go restore this right. Or if it happens, it will be pushing an individual too far. And then that could potentially, at the same point, 40,000 individuals could have been pushed too far, and each making their own individual decision or coming to a conclusion on their own. Now that creates a group that will act together, and that's why I started talking about guns. There are a lot of Greg. I'm not going to mention any names, but he knows at least one person, one or a few people, that if they ever did say, we've had too many tragedies in the mall, we've had too many tragedies, and of course the liberals will just bow down before it. Oh, take them all. And only the police and the military should have it. Oh, the Second Amendment of the Constitution, fuck that. They have no understanding of history and tyranny and how quick. Anyway, the liberal position on the Second Amendment is truly insane if you just go back through history and all the demonic devils that have supposedly been the leaders of countries, right up through hood ornaments, like Obama had a Christmas ball that was Mao. Don't block my video. Obama had a Christmas ball with a picture of Mao, and what was his death toll? About 50 million. Anyway, but the liberals, don't think anybody should have any. Okay, let's not get into that Second Amendment. Point is, Greg knows people that. Sorry to be so long-winded, guys. I'm sorry. You've heard Mike over my blunt body. If you'll take it from my cold, blank hands, he knows people that they'll do a Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, and I'm saying Greg knows a few people, but there are. If I had I don't, I've been to 10 gun shows, and I'm not in their community, of course. But just in terms of Greg is, that he's from South Carolina. If I had to guess, there'd be 50 to 100,000 people in this country that would say, I'm going to do a Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid ending. You're not going to take them. Cold, blank hands. You'll have to, there'll be a David Koresh type. Well, that wasn't much of an equal incident on both sides, but you know what I mean. They'll go down with the ship, and at some point, then again, if somebody's yelling at me, they're not that person's digital twin knows that too, Matt. They know they won't give them up, or whatever they say happened to Australia. And I'm telling the Australians, the UK is bad enough, but the few Australians I've met, they're great people. I know many Australians come and go from this channel. They're great people. But as a whole, nothing has been more pathetic than Australia in the last 30 years. Whether it be giving up this right or the ultimate lockdowns for 2020, where there were laws saying you couldn't cross the street. In terms of how the Australians, it's like we talk about the digital twin modeling, but if there was a real model for notnilC. It's Australia itself. How most of Australia just bows down before authority. I'm sorry, the people that are here that you just don't, and you understand the roots of your country, and it's a great country going back through history, but it is gone. It's bad enough here in the United States, these liberal bastions. Most of the Philadelphia suburbs is this liberal hellhole, but here is nothing compared to the suburbs of Boston and certain parts of Massachusetts. Rob tells me about parts of Connecticut, which make this place where I am look normal. And I mean, these areas are nothing compared to parts of Australia, how they just bow down before authority. And those Karen people. You set foot on that beach. Remember the beaches? You couldn't walk on the beaches during 20. We thought they pushed too far, or were going to push too far during 2020. It's all a test most of it is a test for the digital twin. They don't get one outcome out of any major event, guys, but they got 5 major league outcomes out of 2020. We should just talk about it again sometime. And of course, the new type of blockbuster movie rental, action Jacksonation, all with the movies about the RNA, that sort of that of course, but the other, it was still a gigantic test and sampling and experiment. It might have been mostly for that. Well, it mostly was an experiment, even if you look at what the action Jacksonation was. But it's always a gigantic data collection test for its digital twin and its AI simulation. And it chose Australia and I guess certain parts of the UK, but mostly Australia, to take the dial off. No rights, no freedoms in terms of what a disease or a germ in the air could do to a population. Per its test, all a test to collect data. So its sampling and its modeling gets more perfect. It's not human. And it's alien the way it operates in terms of its never-ending quest to collect data. It turned it 10 out of 10 and it pushed it on Australia, just basically to see what it could get away with, and knowing that population is a bit more amenable than even zombified suburban populations of Connecticut, Massachusetts, and San Francisco. It's even worse. So, but it's all to collect data, and then it goes back into their modeling. So the next time they pull something, they'll get it even more perfect. It is, the notnilC and its minions are completely alien in the way they go about things. Tony he's to me, I don't think I'll ever change my opinion on this. He was right. It's not at the same spiritual incarnation that you are. He called it sequentials. You're a simultaneous. And it made more sense to me than when I'm not bowing down before everything Tony ever said to me. Like I've had disputes and little disagreements, and he got so frustrated with me, he doesn't email me anymore, and he took his ball and went home and went somewhere, whatever. He was very, very smart, but he carried a level of anger that, and I always said to myself, the ultimate guru in the world does not harbor the anger monkey. That's where he may have needed my help. Never looked to me for any help. Was always teaching me. And I rarely get angry at anything anymore. It's really kind of, I guess that's good. I mean, I don't, might be a little down or depressed, but it's usually not anger. Anyway, so he carried not just because of notnilC, because of a lot of things. He carried this anger albatross, and I said to myself, until he lets that go, there's going to be some. Anyway, I'm sorry. The point was when that doesn't mean 10 other things he told me weren't so accurate, in my opinion, and spot on. And he did explain. He said, why are you looking at, I asked Bill to include Larry Ellison in some of his posters. It's usually Musk and Bezos, and Melvin and Bezos and Musk. And like the Three Stooges, that's Bill's thing with Melvin and Bezos and Musk. Oh my, Melvin and Bezos and Musk. Larry, Moe, Curly. I said, Bill, can you include Larry Ellison and put some Zuck the Borg in there as well? Because Larry Ellison's net worth is up to 350 billion. That quietly happened. I think just 5 or 6 years ago, it was only like 50 billion. I was just 50. You can't come in here in my party. 50 billion's your net worth. You pauper. You broke son of a bitch. Get out of here. He couldn't get into parties. It was only 50 billion. Now it's 350, I think, depending on where the Oracle stock price goes. I said, Bill, put his face in some of your posters if you can. So I was talking about Tony, and I was trying to say that nothing ever hit my inner knowing as quickly or as hard or as forcefully as when he explained that it's a different incarnation. Why are you thinking that Melvin and Bezos, Larry Ellison, etc., all these creeps are the same as you to your core? I guess they're in the flesh, they're in the body, but it's not the same as you where it matters most, spiritually. And then we've talked about it many times. He was like my inner knowing, and it was just bringing so many things together, saying, why? Just because it's walking around in what we call the flesh or the body and has arms and legs, why do I think it's like me? It's if I could see outside of the 1% for vision or 1% for hearing, and if I could see its aura or spiritually, it's completely different than me. It's lower. And he told me things that it does come back into bodies, and it knows it has a different relationship, he said, with higher self, and it generally knows its role here as a blocker, although it doesn't know, in my opinion, doesn't know as much as it thinks it knows, but it understands the nature of what this game is and its role here, and that it's different. And, that's why a lot of the things that Hidden Hand guy that did that, that questions and answers and that online chat that became so famous that we talked about, where a lot of what his responses were very similar to like the way Tony presented the sequential incarnation. The Hidden Hand guy talked about bloodlines, and it's not... I'm sorry to be long-winded, but the most incredible thing was, it was like a huge relief that this thing here, this evil here, is not the same as me. And not that I'm just trying to convince myself of that it was immediately apparent, 100%, that it is not the same as you. And when you see that, it is the greatest news of all time. And then it's not just us trying to make ourselves feel better. Tony said, game addicted. It's a lower spiritual being. The rule of opposites here. Larry Ellison, which is 350 billion. Here it's on top. Here it has the power. Here it has the magenta speedboats, and the Larry Silverfish has its lease of the 7 billion. Here it's a big fish here, but we see it's a joke. Talk about a big fish in a small pond. In terms of all that there is, this is the smallest of ponds. This is a joke. You want to be to strive and to be a big fish here and to try to hold on to that. I'm sorry to turn. I guess I'm not sorry. People would rather talk about this aspect of reality than the other stuff we were talking about. But it just was so clear when he's talking. I'm like, that's right. That's right. How do you know it's right? Inner knowing. Just that's right. That's right. That's right. That's right. And it all just came together. Thank you, Tony, very much. They're game addicted. They don't want to move on. They don't want to be Tommy, the deaf, dumb, and blind kid, where we don't know who we were before. We don't know where we're going after death. I don't remember exactly how he put it. They have a sense. These creeps have a sense. Not at the Alec Baldwin level and that low. They're just useful idiots that are just, at the highest of levels. They generally know what they were in past lives, know their role, know that Aleister Crowley will come right back into a Barbara body. Well, I'm not saying that's Aleister Crowley or whatever, but they that's what they do. They know that they know a lot, but it's just a big fish in a small pond. They're not willing to do. It's not making ourselves feel better. It's just so obvious. They're not willing to do what we've done. Tommy, the deaf, dumb, and blind kid, just so lost here. So we don't know. We're just discovering now who we really are, or the fear of death, and it's so hardcore. Tony used to talk about it's so hardcore to take the spiritual leap that we've taken. So he said nothing is as hardcore anywhere in the universe. what we've done. This incarnation is tough. There's there's pain and suffering and emotional trauma, and we don't know who we are, and the fear of death. It is hardcore, and it takes a hardcore son of a bitch to do what we've done. And I'm not saying this. I truly believe this. I'm not saying to try to make anybody feel better or to try to get to that 100,000. So I get some sort of a fucking plaque or something. We'll move very aggressively to remove subscribers once we get to about 98. I don't think I'll ever get to 98. Who cares? They're playing it safe. They're game addicted. That's what he said, and I believe every bit of it. Don't believe some other things he told me. I'm big enough not to just bow down before everything he ever said. Now you just bow down. You think for yourself, boy. No, it's all inner knowing. I think that's why a lot of this, what I'm saying, half of it comes from me, half of it comes from others. Comes from Tony. Comes from people that comment here and people that email me. But it resonates with you. You're not here to learn from me. What I'm saying, what's so interesting, I believe, about this channel, what other people have told me, is some things I will say you just immediately know is correct. Or you just needed it said by someone else, but you already know it. It's just a reaffirmation or confirmation. Not that I'm telling you anything. You know what I'm saying? It's just, I don't know if that's coming out right, but it's stuff you already know. That's when Tony told me those things. Like, yeah, that's right. Oh, that's exactly right. Well, how do you know? I just know. And that happens a lot of times when I say certain things about how reality might work or how we are responsible or in some way for reality generation and creation and things like that. And a lot of it resonates with you in the same kind of way. So anyway, guys, I guess this has been a long one. Okay, I guess I just want to make sure I got out the most important points, which was will the notnilC. I mean, what we talked about the last 20 minutes is far more important than anything we started with. But will the notnilC ever go too far? And I guess my best answer is collectively no, but in terms of individuals, we use the gun example. In terms of individuals being pushed too far, and they're saying I won't go along with this. They'll have to come in here and pry it out of my. It might make a mistake like that someday, and then each individual decision on its own will turn into a group decision. And I'd like to see it happen. I'm so tired of the endless ship of fools. People bowing down to absolutely everything. People these idiots all around us looking to authority and, absolute moron creatures like Dr. F in the 2020 example and just low life scum. And it's just and then they'll go complain about the government. Then they'll go out on their stoop and complain about the government. But then they'll come and they'll bow down before it. I don't know. One time in our lifetime, I would like to see the people push back in whatever form. And if you and me you heard me just say that, we put that out in the ether. Good. Let it. I'm not going to be the one. I'm not going to be out there with a Pied Piper trying to rally troops. I'm into worry about yourself. You're a wimp, Matt. No, it has nothing to do with that. You wuss. You don't want to participate in any pushback. I mostly think it's useless, but I would like to see it. I'm not going to go lead it. I'm completely into worry about my own spiritual journey at this point, and to go out and try to change the world and try to make the world into what it should be with freedom and democracy, and that's the trick of this reality. I'm not saying we're going to. Hopefully, nobody interpreted this as me saying we could go change government and change. It's supposed to be effed up. This whole life experience is supposed to be a complete mess. That's how we learn what we learn. It's supposed to be a trial. It's supposed to be messed up. It was a utopia, or nobody would. But it's never going to be. I'm just saying, just for selfish reasons, I just want to see a population just for once push back on something. Because I'm tired of the endless bowing down. I'm tired of the download. Anyway, talk about long-winded and saying the same thing over again. Thanks, guys. Thanks for being here. I'll see you soon. Who knows where that came from?